Howdy y'all, and welcome back into another One Piece post-game video. My name is Sai, and today we're here to look through the comment section of the previous chapter's review, just to see what everybody's talking about. We're here to check out the theories, the opinions, the jokes, the barbell talk. We're here for it all. So, on to the video now, into the comment section. I did sort this from top to bottom. We're just going to be here for like a nice 20 or so minutes. So buckle up, hang out, and let's do this thing, brothers. First comment, top comment said, Oda made sure Barbell stood out in the color spread. You might be onto something, Sai. I'm telling you, dude. Hey, maybe Barbell is the man marked by flames. All I gotta say. But yes, Barbell, the GOAT, he looked fantastic. And this brought a smile to my face, but I am so tied to the Barbell agenda that when I was scrolling TikTok earlier today, I came by a post where people were talking about the color spread and how cool the characters looked. And I was like, yeah, you know, I'm just interacting. I don't really comment or anything. But I went into the comment section just to see what people were talking about. And a lot of people were hyping up Barbell. And they mentioned my name too. And I was like, oh, dude, that's sweet. I don't know. And it's like, dude, the agenda is living and it is thriving, brother. That's what I'm talking about. And the thing with Barbell is that I do think he genuinely has to be mentioned at least one more time in the story. Every member in that color spread has had their 5 minutes of fame. Literally everybody. But Barbell hasn't. And I'd argue Kyo hasn't as well. He got his ass kicked by Marco's dad, and I hope that's not what his legacy entails, but yeah, Kyo, Barbell, give us some heat, Oda, please! This says, Barbell looking like Guy Fieri and Hulk Hogan fuse. Hey, the GOATs, man. Guy Fieri, I'm not like the biggest fan of. I feel like his cooking shows and traveling shows aren't as entertaining as Gordon Ramsay, but I don't hate him, right? I don't hate the guy. Hulk Hogan, though, where do you think I got the brother line from, dude? Come on. I always like seeing people's high hopes for Ace. It kind of reopens the wound, and it makes it sting just a little bit more, even after 15 years later. Yeah, it's very sad in retrospect. I really did wish Ace survived. Like, he was right there, dude. He was so close to leaving. But just like his father, he couldn't turn down a fight or somebody besmirching somebody he cares about's honor. I feel like that was a really roundabout way to say it, but I was kind of ad-libbing right there. Harold, doing what Imu wants without the need to control him and losing his memory is exactly what happened with Gunko. A momentary slip happened when she saw Brook, but otherwise, she most likely is a completely different person than normal. And yeah, Gunko is a weird exception within the Holy Knights. We've talked about her a multitude of times, but she is seemingly the only God Knight that has not aged. And Gunko is the only Holy Knight, mind you, that we've seen in the Flower Room. Like, we haven't seen Shamrock there. Sommers hasn't been in there. Harold hasn't been in there. Literally only Gunko. So there's something special about her. And it could have to do with their memories, you know, because you kind of alluded to that, right? Like, her memories slipped for a minute. She remembered Brook, and then boom, Imu came back in. I wouldn't be shocked if Imu ordered Gunko to forget about her past. Maybe she is redeemable in that sense, because I do know that is a hot talking point, you know? Will Gunko be good? Is she evil? Should we forgive her? She was a celestial dragon. She had slaves. She killed people. But it's like, yo, if she wasn't in control, if she didn't have, you know, her hands on the wheel, can we really blame her? That is a big thing. This says, from this chapter, it seems Gabon at that point didn't know how to deal with the regeneration of the Holy Knights. That is very interesting in my opinion. I think so too. Right now, my theory is that after Harold is defeated, more Holy Knights will show up. I wouldn't be shocked if Shamrock comes in, if maybe Saint Sommers comes in, and this is where we get the Scopper versus Sommers interaction. And this is why Sommers is so afraid of Scopper, right? They just beat King Harold, they show up, they're like, yo, what's going on here? And then boom, Scopper, come on! And then of course, this Shanks and Shamrock interaction would go freaking hard. At some point in time, we have to explain the claw marks in the throne room. So far, has not come from Harold, has not come from Loki. It still could, right? We don't know what the legendary Devil Fruit of Elbaf actually is, so maybe that could explain the claw marks. But aside from that, another easy way to explain it would be with Shamrock. Shamrock has a Cerberus blade. Cerberus typically has claws, so yeah, maybe that is a sign that Saint Garland Shamrock will appear at the end of this whole debacle. I think that'd be pretty cool. And maybe that is why Shanks and Gabon don't immediately capture Loki. It's because they have their hands full with the God Knights who just made their appearance. And Loki, because he left so quickly, he didn't see Shamrock, and that could explain why current day in Elbaf, he's like, hey, who the hell are you? Which red hair are you, man? So this says 4046, then Summers shouldn't have been surprised to see Gabon present day. Well, that is true. You know, if Summers did see Gabon at Aura's castle, then he shouldn't be shot current day. But what are the chances that Scopper is still at the same place? What is it, like 14 years later? Maybe St. Summers didn't know that this was where Scopper lived. He could have been under the assumption that Scopper was simply passing by. It's kind of like Shanks, right? You see Shanks in Elbaf once, but you don't expect him to have a house here. You don't expect to see him current day here in Elbaf. That's my rebuttal, but you do bring up a really good point, though. This says, the fruit could be Fenrir, Loki's pet wolf in most depictions. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. One thing as well, I don't know if this is a hint that Loki will get a Fenrir fruit, but Loki does have a very distinctive laugh, like so many of the other characters in One Piece. Loki's laugh is dog ha 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 ha, which, hopefully it sounds cooler in the anime, but he does start it off with dog. So maybe that's the case, right? He could have the mythical dog no mi model Fenrir. I'd be down for it, brother. I would be down for that. Ace is named after Roger's sword, so I imagine Shanks could put 2 and 2 together. That is true. And, we could look at this as a way for many other people to figure it out as well. And plus, Roger has an attack called Flame God Ace. So, yeah, I would like to imagine a lot of people could put it together in the world of One Piece if they tried. But we know that sometimes in the world of One Piece, putting 2 and 2 together is not always easy if the plot wants it to be. But Summers was very surprised to see Gabon in Elbaf. It was news to him. Would not make sense if he met Gabon at Elbaf as well. That is true, brings up the same point as this comment up here. But another way to look at this is that, okay, let's say St. Summers and Scopper don't meet here in this flashback. Then when did they meet? Like, is there some time after this interaction where Scopper is back out on the open seas and he runs into St. Summers? Because at least for me, the way this chapter felt, it felt like Scopper had no clue about regeneration, about the Abyss Circle, about Emu at all. So I just feel like he hasn't ran into a God Knight or fought a God Knight yet. So if that's the case, then that means that Scopper was traveling around the world a little bit and he met St. Summers while he's retired. And that just feels even more odd. But yeah, we have to explain where they first met at some point. And I just feel like here in this flashback is the only real chance to flesh that out. But that's just me. This comment says, Barbell may as well be the channel mascot. I thought about that. I do have a channel banner here and on my other channels as well, but it simply just says the channel name. And I was like, yo, maybe I should spice it up. Maybe I should put my favorite One Piece characters up there. Like, we could get Barbell up there, Gecko Moria, Perona, Mihawk, Crocodile, throw Buggy up there as well, Akainu, ooh yeah, Akainu. Who else do I really enjoy? Orlumbus and Brownbeard, dude, they could be brothers. Look at Orlumbus, look at Brownbeard, they gotta be related, y'all. Yeah, maybe I'll put the goats up there one day, but I gotta get that commission and that might take a while. The elders will be the kindest men in the Void Century. Yeah, I've seen the sentiment beforehand. A lot of people were like, yo, the elders could be Joy Boys Nakamas from the past, but they got corrupted, or maybe Emu's controlling them. And after this chapter, I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea, right? The thing with Harold being possessed by Emu is that Emu doesn't have to do a damn thing. Emu isn't taking control over him. He's simply giving him a directive, and Harold is acting out on it. And Harold looks exactly the same as he did previously. Nothing changed about him, minus maybe how he speaks. So if you were just a guard in the castle, if you're just a guy in Elbaf, you probably wouldn't know that Harold is acting against his own will, which is the scary part. And this is a random tie-in, but I do look back to Vanderdecken the First. I know, like so random, right? But Vanderdecken the First, apparently on a weird stormy day, he went crazy out of nowhere and killed his whole crew. What are the chances that during the Void Century, he was simply possessed by Emu? I think the chances are kind of high. That's the best way to explain it, right? Like, yeah, one day our captain just killed everybody. odd. Something must have triggered that. So yeah, I think we will meet people who were genuinely controlled by Emu. Maybe even the 20 kings and queens were controlled by Emu. I think there's going to be a lot of possession going around in the Void Century. This says, Herald, crushing that giant's head was brutal. It was so cool. I love that panel so much. Like, Oda, man, he can aura farm with these characters if he wants to. This says, I thought that was just the sound of the hammer flying through the air. It could be. That could be the sound of the hammer flying through the air. But I don't know why it would make a ge sound, right? That's my thing. And then plus, it also seemingly had a speech bubble, very similar to Loki's in that same panel. And usually when we see sound effects, they don't always have speech bubbles. So because the sound is odd, because the speech bubble is large as Loki's, I do lean towards the hammer talking, but we'll see. And when it comes to the hammer too, I love just all the options about it. Whether it's a homie, whether it has a mythological zoan devil fruit, whether it ate the Elbaf one, I think there's a lot of cool ways to make that hammer pretty damn unique. This says, it makes sense why Yaru was talking about Loki in the bar, and it makes it hit so much harder because you could see the pain in Yarl's face. Yeah, you can tell he's contemplating. During the party, they brought up Loki, and Yaru was like, oh, Loki, he kind of just wanted to be the sun god. All of us giants want to be the sun god, to be fair, y'all. Yaru was subtly trying to side with Loki there. And it's funny because when he said that, some of the giants were like, yo, Elder Yaru, no, don't defend him. What the heck? Man, I lost it when he said both Buggy and Shanks were like their sons. Bro, the best duo confirmed. I can't wait for him. Yeah. When we get that Buggy Shanks team up in the future, I think it is going to be beautiful. And the thing is that it's not just like fanfic, right? Because both Buggy and Shanks have admitted that they really wanted to be together. They wanted to be pirates together. So it's like, dude, one day they're going to have to get that. Do you think some of the Gorosei and God Knights are actually just normal people that fell into the same trap Herald did? I theorized back at the end of Egghead that Saturn was actually maliciously compliant based on the number of mistakes he made. Is it possible that one might be able to follow Emu's orders in the worst way possible? It's like a monkey's paw wish. When you ask us something of Saturn, he manages to somehow deliver the complete opposite without defying your order. That's a tough one. I do think that at some point in time, we have to just say that Saturn wasn't the best Gorosei member, but I do agree with you overall that we will see at least one God Knight or Gorosei member who isn't truly evil. And I guess one person people talk about often is Jupiter, and how like when Garling showed up to the Gorosei room, he seemed the most shocked, like he was the most scared of him. And it's like, I do like that route, where maybe there is a guy who wants to help the world, but Emu at every point in time says, hey, you're not doing that, buddy. You are gonna help me with slavery. I think that could be the case. And as far as people doing a monkey paw situation, where, Emu's like, hey, bring me water, and then they bring water, but like no cup, right? I think that's very possible. I think that could be a way to get around it. But because you have the mark, I also wouldn't be shocked that maybe if Emu witnesses you doing that on purpose, they could just disintegrate you like Saturn. So it is very risky. This says, Yaru looking at Gabon saying, don't worry, my helmet saved me. In full seriousness has me rolling. That's as deadly as an injury as it gets. And he's acting like it was a near miss. Yeah, dude, he rolled a 20, man. What can I say? He rolled a 20 and apparently he just survived it, right? He's landing every saving throw. I don't know how. I hope we see eventually he gets the sword out of his head, which I don't know how that's going to happen, right? Does somebody realistically pull the sword out of the head and he's fine? Do we need Law here? Because I think Law would be an interesting route, right? Because Law could genuinely save Yaru and remove the sword at the same time. And the thing with Law is that we don't know where he's at current day. Last we saw, he was at Winter's Island, and then Blackbeard kicked his ass. Beppo took him and swam to the next island. But if you recall, when we left Wano, there were only 3 islands that the log pose was actually pointing to. One of them was Egghead, the other was Winter's Island, and then the last one was Elbaf. Kid went to Elbaf, which is the one in the middle. Luffy went to the one on the far right, which ended up being Egghead. Law went to the one on the far left. Luffy left Egghead early, which is how he got to Elbaf. And Law, realistically, if Beppo wanted to go to the closest island that the log pose is pointing to, that would lead him to Elbaf. I would like it. I don't know how many people would, but I would genuinely like it if Law and Kid showed up here. Like, imagine that, right? We need Conquer Hockey users. Kid is one of them. We need somebody to perform surgery on Yaru. Law could be that guy. I do think Law and Kid showing up here would be phenomenal, but I can see a lot of people saying that they don't want them here because it felt like we just said goodbye to them. And I do think that is a very valid opinion. But I want to pass the question on to you guys. Do you think Law and Kid will make an appearance here in Elbaf? Or no, do you think it's just one or the other? Or neither? Let me know down below. What if only the one who has eaten the mythological devil fruit can wield Ragnir? That could be possible. But then we have to explain Ragnir. Like, why is it moving? Like, is it sentient then? Is it another devil fruit, but it only likes this zoan devil fruit thing? I think that'd be an interesting one to explain. Like, how did Ragnir become that way in the first place then? This says, I love the idea of Loki's hammer being a Cloboderman, a weapon loved by Elbaf through generations. And I think this replies to the same thing, right? Yeah, the problem is that a Cloboderman by lore only comes out at the end of the life of a loved ship. Oda could change it, but I don't think it fits unless Ragnir is doomed to die. And the problem with this too is that Clobodermans are a real mythological thing, so I don't think Oda would twist that lore and say that, yes, it now applies to hammers. I do like the idea of like a sentient weapon though, and this could be easily explained if Ragnir is 900 plus years old. Because we don't exactly know how the Void Century functions, and because magic is a thing in One Piece now with Emu, we could say it's an actual magical hammer, and it could make sense. This says, when Herald has lost control, he says, I need to take up the fruit and Ragnir, which makes it seem like he already knows that eating the devil fruit means equipping Ragnir too. I would love it if the fruit is a legendary Elbaf warrior and Ragnir was his weapon, like Shisui and Ryuma. Maybe the fruit works best with the hammer. Also, I think it's hilarious that the legendary blade is still stuck in Jarl's head. Peak chapter and great work as usual. Side edit, I would love if Roger parallels with Luffy and Brook when encountering Buggy. Maybe he just says, damn, that nose is big as hell, bruh. You look funny. You want to join us. True story, his future sight is so crazy, he saw every Straw Hat's backstory, and he knew how to set his boy up right, poisoned his mama, and left the boy. Okay, that's crazy. Yeah, that is crazy for Yasopp. As far as it being a mythological Elbaf warrior, it could happen. I mean, when you think about devil fruits, as long as you yearn for something, it could become a devil fruit. I mean, that's how Nika persisted throughout the years. So if there was a legendary Elbaf warrior out there, then yeah, it could happen. And hell, this even goes back to the theories that were spinning around at the beginning of Elbaf. I don't know how many of you guys remember, but at the beginning, because so many people didn't know what to believe when it came to Nika, whether it's a warrior of liberation, whether it's a warrior of destruction, people were like, yo, the Elbaf devil fruit could just be the opposite side of Nika. It could be evil Nika. And I don't think that was ever a bad idea. It's just that it's been so long that the idea is kind of like fallen out of the loop. But I don't think it was bad, man. I do not think it was bad. What if one of Loki's eye powers is able to erase, dash, replace memories, and after the fight is over, Loki uses the eye power on everybody present at the castle? Problem with this is that we have no indication that Loki knows what his eye powers are yet. Like, if he knew this power beforehand, or if he like tried playing with it a little bit, I could see it. But as far as this right now, I don't know. And then plus this falls too in line, in my opinion, to Pudding's devil fruit and how Pudding can just erase memories and alter memories. So I don't know if that's the route. But then again, we do have to explain the Void Century. So, you know, I guess this could explain that. Saying, oh yeah, the reason why everybody forgot 100 years of history is because of whoever had Loki's eyes previously. Back in the past, people always believed that it was due to Pudding's fruit awakening. Like, oh, in the Void Century, somebody awakened the memory no me. But eye powers wouldn't be a bad way to explain that either. At that point, it would kind of be like a Project Tsukuyomi from Naruto, and how he just like reflects his eye around the whole world and boom, he just erases something or alters memories. That could be cool. It was Rox's era. He come, he rock, he left. Captain John's hair looks white to me. I think the line part is part of the shading all over the cover. Could be it. It's funny because like John, at least what we saw at Thriller Bark, he has like light purple hair. So there is like a hue to it. If it is white, it has like a purplish hue. Maybe when it was younger, it had a greenish hue, and then it just like progressed over time. I'm sure people mentioned this by now, but after seeing the thumbnail, it makes sense why Shanks let the Sea King take his arm with the God Knight tattoo. Yep, he did not care about it whatsoever. Barbell is the man marked by Flame's hair. Yeah, this is funny. Somebody pointed this out over on Twitter, but they're like, yo, Rox's Jolly Roger, why is it on fire? You know, like Rox's Jolly Roger is his skull with fiery hair. Rox doesn't have that. Why? Like, why is that a thing? It's like Straw Hats, right? The Straw Hat Jolly Roger is Luffy's skull and a straw hat. It's iconic, and it's him. Shanks' logo. Oh, you know, he has the scar because Blackbeard gave him the scar, and he has the scar currently still. But it's like Rox's logo. Why does it have fire hair if Rox himself doesn't have fire hair? And here's the kicker, but the person on the crew that does have fire hair is Barbell. What is actually up with that? That's like if Luffy's Jolly Roger wasn't the straw hat, but it was of 3 swords. It's like, wait, why does Zoro have his thing on the Jolly Roger? Like, I don't get Rox's logo. I really don't. If Rox's logo at least had the lightning bolt tattoo that he has, I'd be like, okay, yeah, maybe that's just, you know, symbolic or, yeah, but, you know, obviously we can tell it's Rox. But looking at that Jolly Roger, brother, that's just Barbell. You can't deny it, right? You could say it sounds stupid, but you can't deny it, dude. I don't know what's going on with that. And this says, showing Summers' arm in that moment as Shanks was explaining might be a hint that his arm chopped off but didn't actually break the covenant. I mean, it shouldn't, right? I mean, at that point in time, Summers was a god knight, so it's going to regenerate. I believe when your Shanks' level just tier 1 and you don't have the regeneration powers, you can get rid of the covenant. But when you hit tier 2 and tier 3, it's impossible. Like, you can't just cut it off anymore. Barbell, man marked by flames. His hair is on fire. The Psy agenda, brother. Hey, Oda said we're going to meet him this year. And imagine if that was Barbell. Dude, if it is Barbell, I do genuinely think that this would go down as a lifelong achievement. Like it would just be that massive. And I don't have many of those. My first one would simply be bringing back the Flamin' Hot Lays by starting a big petition online. I did that before I started YouTube. And then, right beside that, it would be the Barbell marked by flames agenda, if it comes true. The panel, with Harold saying, it's messing with my thoughts too. Will this last forever? Makes me think that Emu has a C contract tattoo of his own. My theory is Emu, who might be a devil, is not native to his body. He is possessing Nerona, Emu, Lily, or whoever the body originally belonged to. He formed a C contract with, let's say, Lily, during or before the Void Century, and the contract reached a point in which Emu could possess her body entirely, dominating the person's mind, slowly but surely. This is why Emu has Gunko and desires Vivi to form a contract and eventually possess their bodies. Yeah, I could see it. You know, Emu could just be a simple devil. Maybe the original Emu Nerona wasn't a bad person. Maybe they simply wanted extra power, and then they ended up reading a grimoire, and they saw that they could simply put a mark on their arm. It would be all good and dandy. They did it, and then boom, they're possessed. I think that would be pretty cool. And I'm sure you guys, you know, when I said that, like, certain stories pop up in your head because that is a thing that generally happens in fiction. Like, oh, a character's looking for power, and they made a really bad deal with the devil. Could happen, could happen. What are the chances Shanks thought Luffy was Roger's son? He didn't go to Goa Kingdom explicitly for Ace. 1. Garp shared that Roger had a son. Luffy has a connection to Garp. Perhaps Shanks figured it out because Garp often went to Goa Kingdom. 2. Luffy kind of resembles Roger. 3. Luffy said the same thing that Roger said, which made Shanks feel some sort of way. 4. He didn't say anything of note to Ace when Ace confronted him. Might just be for narrative reasons. Yeah, I think he didn't know that Ace was Roger's son until afterwards. As far as Luffy goes, I don't think so. I think he probably just thought that Luffy was another kid that looked up to him. And we know that there's a lot of kids like that in the world of One Piece, right? I mean, hell, Colin is consistently asking Shanks to join his crew. I think Shanks is just very charismatic, and he also loves traveling, right? Shanks has been on the open seas for so long, and a majority of the time he just visits bars, from the looks of it. Overall, I don't mind the idea. I like it, but I just don't think that's the case, though. I don't think it's the case. Oda, feeding the Barbell fans for 3 years with that color spread. Dude, that was more than we could ever ask for, all I gotta say. Just imagine, Garp trolling them and holding the fact that he was told about Roger's son before them is hilarious. That seems like a Garp thing to do. I mean, Garp, I do think he cherishes his relationship with Roger, and especially when he can, like, release it to Roger Pirates and he doesn't have to hold back. Yeah, I think he's trolling him, dude. Hardcore. What if the Purple Wolf cover page we saw was Ragnir turning into a wolf instead of Loki? The Purple Wolf cover page. I'm assuming you're talking about this right here, and I don't know. It's weird because Loki is purple, so I feel like the Purple Wolf would be Loki more so than Ragnir, because Ragnir should just be straight up black, but I don't mind the idea. I don't mind it. Silverax looks exactly like Mr. One. He must be the father. Silverax and Dad's bones. Do they look exactly the same? Yes and no. I just feel like Mr. One has a very basic appearance that you could say a lot of buzz cut or bald guys look similar. Like Vertigo, for example. You just change Vertigo's clothes, kind of looks like Mr. Wonder could be a brother. So I don't know. I've seen this theory floating around. This is something I don't mind. And personally, I don't mind Nepo piece. You know, if somebody's connected or, you know, oh, that's somebody's son. I think that's cool. I just feel like I need more for Silver X and Mr. One. Because like Marco Polo, you see them and it's like, okay, they've got to be related. The names match. Sure. As far as this goes, Silver Axe's real name is Kyo. And then Mr. One is Daz Bones. And it's like, okay, so far, there's not a lot of connections, minus the fact that they have similar haircuts. So I need a little bit more for that one. Under 1 minute, Barbell mentioned W video. Can't believe you didn't notice a burn scar on Barbell. Burn scar? What burn scar are you talking about? When they're saying Ace was avoiding the Navy, you have to remember Ace is only 8 years old at this point in the flashback. He's not a pirate at all. What they're talking about is the fact that the child of Roger would be hunted and killed by the Marines, and so Ace is being well hidden. It is very much like Garp to forget to actually say Ace's name, and since they never called him Ace, I don't think they knew. And yeah, I think that's very fair. Yeah, like for me, I don't think that Shanks knew that Ace was Roger's son until after they first met. Because like a lot of people pointed out, when Ace and Shanks first met, they didn't mention Roger at all. At least to our knowledge. Maybe that's different somewhere else, but from what I recall, yeah, Shanks did not seem to just say, hey, you're Roger's son, or bring it up at all. Watch out for who pulleth out the sword of Yaru's head is rightwise king born of all Elbaf. Yeah, we get the King Arthur reference in here. I wouldn't mind it. I mean, it is a legendary blade. I don't think they're going to be king of Elbaf, but I mean, unless it's Hiradin who does it, I think that'd be kind of cool. Like, hey, Hiradin, Loki has a weapon. You need one too. Pull it, brother. I need you to rip it. Man, we got to respect Harold's guards. They didn't waste any time to stop Harold. Yeah, they were like ready to stab him, you know. Harold said, guys, kill me. The guards said, yes, sir. Violence, man. It is in the giant DNA. This says, the fruit in the box had a baby, and that's how Ragnir came to be. Gabon and the rest of the Roger pirates really abandoned their sons to survive at 14, while the rest of the world hunted them down. The will of the deadbeat is real. Hey, I don't blame the Roger pirates. I think Shanks and Buggy genuinely wanted to do their own things. So I put it on them, right? And here's the thing, right? The world of One Piece is crazy. It's not shocking that these 14-year-olds want to just head out to the open seas, especially when they're from a renowned pirate group and they probably want to make their own names. Scopper, cracking his gigantus wife while Loki, who he knows is innocent, is chained up in the underworld. Hey, maybe Loki asked for it. We don't know what happens by the end of this. There is a good chance that Loki and even Yaru are like, hey, Shanks, Scopper, please don't tell anybody what happened here. You know, we gotta preserve King Harold's honor. This says, how is Shanks even allowed back if he's a known pirate? Harold knows the crew's name, so it must be some level of notoriety, and he's the captain. I mean, that's one of the things, right? We just have to assume that the God Knights do not read the news at all. Because that is a genuine thing, right? The Red Pirates are a known pirate group. How does Emu, the Gorosei, the Fagarland family let that slip by? We just have to suspend disbelief until Oda explains it more, right? And that's not even guaranteed. This says, I saw the spread and said to myself, oh, Oda likes playing jokes, adding Barbell's hair again. Yeah, it's kind of odd. Like Barbell at God Valley had no hair. Barbell shaved it off. And then we see at the beginning of the flashback and in this color spread, his hair is fiery. I don't know what's up with that. Maybe it's a power, which is why originally I was like, oh, maybe he has the Mare no Mi. And then of course he also has like the Ace red beads around his neck. So I'm like, hey, it's not a bad theory. Maybe he dies and then, you know, the fruit spawns and Ace eats it. I wouldn't be mad at that, but yeah, the hair thing is kind of silly. The hair thing is pretty silly. Imagine a Logia sword. You swing through someone to fake them out, and then you hit them for real in the back. Yeah, that would go crazy. I think there's a reason why we haven't seen like a Logia Paramecia sword yet. I think it has to do with the wills of the fruit, but if we wanted to have fun with it, I do think Logia Paramecia weapons would be freaking cracked. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I really freaking appreciate it as per usual. Hopefully you guys had a great time here. Let me know what you think about all these comments now that we've had a couple of days to sit and stew with this chapter. Peace out. Stay safe, guys. Thank you so much for watching again. And if you have the time, please check out my side channels over here at Psyduck, SYVDUCK. I post gameplay clips there, I'd say once every 3 or 4 days. And then, of course, I have an anime reaction channel called Somnus Reacts, where I react to One Piece, One Punch Man, and soon Frieren and JJK. Until next time, guys, peace out. Stay safe, brothers.